Hello, everyone. Alavi here again in post before the episode starts. I know this episode is late. This is in part due to some changes we're going to be making on the production end and regarding our release schedule. So we'll be talking about it on the next episode, which should be coming out as normally scheduled if all things go as planned. But other than that, we apologize for the delay and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Welcome
Welcome
to Sleepdrunk.
to Sleepdrunk, where
You like jazz?
Okay, so Alex, you seem a little bit tired today. Seem a
Yeah.
little bit dead inside.
Yeah, I've been dealing with some spoon difficulties.
Yeah, like handle isn't good.
Yep.
It's causing some heartache,
Yep.
causing some headaches,
Lots of that.
causing some foot aches,
Lots of lack of sleep.
causing some ear aches,
Yeah.
causing pains. Maybe you should tell your spoon to not.
I feel like if a spoon does not realize that that's just basic decency, there's really no telling that to someone.
Well, we can talk about more about that during Discussion Avenue. But first off, we're going to talk about some cooking. Talk about ways of making raw food into not salmonella.
Generally a good thing.
Yeah, because I'm not a huge salmonella guy. I know some people are like, this kind of thing, it's not for me. I respect it if you're a salmonella guy. That's all you, but that ain't me. And then afterwards, we're going to take a stroll by Discussion Avenue and then finish up with some jazz. Because I'm slowly running out of ideas. Okay, so if you're like us and you happen to have a kitchen in wherever you live in college, for a lot of you, this kind of might be your first chance to really have your own kitchen and make your own decisions in regards to food made at home. To my knowledge, most people in high school don't cook all of their own food and manage all their own meals and go to a dining hall.
In fact, they probably don't do any of that.
Maybe go to the cafeteria.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe eat some sad chicken.
Or if not that, then just maybe they'll make their own lunch at home if mom doesn't do that for them.
Or maybe sometimes breakfast. Actually, I don't know, maybe breakfast.
Breakfast.
Yeah. Breakfast, but that's cereal. Maybe some toast.
an
an
for high
Eggo
schoolers,
waffle.
It's either nothing or just kind of cereal or something.
But Leggo.
Nah,
But
I'm gonna keep it.
Leggo.
No, I'm not gonna do it.
Damn, really.
I'm
That
not
hurts.
Title IX your fucking Eggo.
That hurts. If you're really gonna touch my arm. So, listeners, call 911. Alex has not let go of my Eggo. So please inform the authorities.
I'm keeping it.
Damn. I'm about to steal your Eggo.
But this is mine, Eggo, and
But I want it.
that sucks.
Well. Well, anyway, Eggo thievery aside. So, for a lot of you, this might be your first chance to really get into cooking. I think there's a lot of benefits for cooking at home, cooking in general, in terms of things like financial benefit. It's cheaper generally.
If you know what you're doing.
Yes, if you know what you're doing and you know where to buy your things, it's most of the time significantly cheaper. You save a lot of money.
Also, you know what you like, so
Yes.
you can always make what you like instead of maybe not getting what you like.
And also, it's just a good skill to have. You can impress people and show off
Definitely.
and save money. And so we thought we'd just go over some of the stuff we've learned, kind of going through this whole process of really making our own food all the time and cooking by ourselves, and some of the basic gear and what you can do to kind of get started. And so we're gonna start us off with some gear. And preface, I think that's just a thing with all sort of things that involve gear. People go way too much into gear.
I feel like people tend to not go that much into their kitchen gear, but still,
it depends.
You
It
know,
really depends.
always with gear, you gotta preface.
Yeah, there's the gear trap. Don't get into the gear trap. As long as you have serviceable gear, as long as everything you have is good enough, you'll be fine. And so I think we started this off with, I think, what in my opinion is the most important thing, which is a good quality chef's knife. Because I think 90 to 95% of everything you do in the kitchen will be with a chef's knife, any cutting. And you can do basically everything with a chef's knife. So if you're going to invest in a knife, it's much better to get a good quality, high carbon chef's knife that you'll take care of, opposed to a block of stainless steel Chinesium things that were cut out of a sheet.
Yeah.
Just a few tips, make sure it feels good. Don't, if you want to order it online, but if you can, try and at least go to a store and feel it. I think the feel of it is kind of important, at least for me. Especially if you're cooking a lot, your hands are gonna get sore. You don't want that. Sore hands suck.
Yeah.
It's just
Kinda
good.
do.
Yeah, get a good quality chef's knife. Keep it sharp. If you get a honing steel, we actually don't have one, and I've been planning on buying one for a bit, but kind of have neglected it. Get a honing steel if you want to sharpen it yourself. I mean, there's resources for that. There's a whole thing you can do. I'm kind of torn on this one. Because I feel like part of me is like, hey, you should totally go sharpen things yourself. Because, it's cool.
Like, the rate at which your knife is going to become dull is really just not something that happens fast enough for us to worry about in this segment.
I don't know. You'd be surprised. They get dull pretty quick.
Depending
on if you hone or not. But, like, it's one of the things where, okay, I'll say this, right? There's sharpening options out there. There's, like, the pull-through sharpeners. There are, if you want to be a badass, get a whetstone. But if you're buying a whetstone, you don't need this segment. You're already probably set, just generally. And then, of course, if you want to go there are professional knife sharpening services in most decently populated areas.
I feel like that's just kind of like the go-to thing because most people aren't going to do this like hardly ever.
Yeah, it's like maybe like once a year you take it out to the guy, he'll sharpen it for you.
Not even that, to be honest.
That depends. Like
most people are going to do this like maybe once every 5 years or just get a new knife at that point.
Yeah. See, I want to make mine last, so I like to sharpen. I like sharpening things. I'm a knife person. Like generally, I carry a pocket knife.
Yeah, like I feel like that's kind of bleeding in.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Most people don't give a rat's ass.
But you should at least have a honing steel, just because like I think there's a good analogy I heard of from the one and only Adam Ragusea. I like to call Ragu Man because ragu sauce cooking. It's funny. Alex, you're obligated to laugh. You're obligated to laugh. He's not laughing. Well, so, but he was saying that, like, it was an analogy that he was told by food scientists where, like, even a straight edge knife, what it is at the microscopic level, right? It's basically a serration. Like, there's a bunch of tiny teeth. And so, as you cut stuff with it, right, the teeth get bent, they fall off, they get worn out of shape, right? So, honing steel will make the teeth straight again, which makes a pretty big difference. Whereas a sharpening steel creates new teeth in the micro serration. But so, long story short, just get a good knife, have a good knife, take care of it. If it's high carbon, don't put it in the dishwasher, because it'll rust. And next, you're going to want a good cutting board. This one's pretty self-explanatory. If you're using a really crappy cutting board, and you get a good cutting board, you'll be very happy.
Yeah, it really does make a big difference. And honestly, having, like, multiple cutting boards is always really handy too, in case you have one that has raw meat on it or something, and then you want to just cut vegetables afterwards.
Or for like smaller things.
Yeah, and the thing that honestly just definitively makes a good cutting board is having the little juice trough, because without that you're gonna get wet bits all over your counter or all over your table or all over your floor, and like that's not fun. You
maybe all over your skin, on your face, in your genitals.
In your genitals. Yep. You will get wet bits in your genitals if you don't have a good cutting board.
Yes. But also rubber feet is also really nice.
Yeah, rubber feet keep it in place. That or just one that has enough mass. Like if you have a thick wooden one.
Yeah, that one won't slip either. Although, pro tip, if you don't have one, a quick little thing you can do is get a wet paper towel and put it under it. And that can help a lot if it doesn't have rubber feet or isn't very heavy.
Yeah, that definitely is the truth. But then you still got wet bits.
Yeah, but like they're less wet bits.
But like still wet bits.
It's still undesirable. But yeah, have a good cutting board. Oxo makes really good everything, basically.
It's a little pricey, but it's generally really quality. Like,
it's not cheap, but it's quite.
It's like plastic utensils that are really high quality. They're not going to fall apart. They feel nice.
They feel very nice.
They have like rubberized handles and just all the bells and whistles.
The show notes just says Oxo Daddy.
You easily find them on Amazon, Target, etc.
Yeah, they're just great. They're a good brand. Everyone likes them. Next up is we're gonna go to like pans and stuff. Good non-stick skill. It's always nice. We don't actually have a very good big one, but non-stick is good. Make eggs.
Yeah, non-sticks are just for basic things. I mean, like if you or things that could possibly tear your skillet up, just put it in a non-stick because you can't really destroy non-stick. Just like no abrasive cleaning. That's it.
Don't use metal utensils. Use plastic ones. That can scratch up the Teflon.
Yeah,
you don't want Teflon bits in your food.
Maybe I did.
I mean, hey, you just like put it in the pepper grinder then.
Teflon's kind of tasty.
I mean, hey, to each their own.
Yeah.
Next up is something that I think is, at least in the online cooking community, will be a little bit controversial, but a good stainless skillet.
Honestly, I think this is one of the most important ones.
And here's the thing. Some people will say that I should have a cast iron skillet. And you know what? Cast iron, it's great. It's really good.
Yeah,
you also have to, like...
It's very high maintenance, basically. So, like, if you're going to have cast iron, I feel like that's a little above the intro cooking level.
Yeah, and it's like, also, as college students... We don't have that kind of time. We don't have cast iron maintenance time.
Nobody has time to prime their cast iron skillets. Nobody has time to
oil
let them huge things heat up and oil them and season them and do
like,
all this BS and to just take care of them. I mean, that's just too time consuming.
Like, if you want to do that, more power to you.
More power to you, but you're probably like on a culinary track anyway. Yeah. So,
or you just have more time and more resources. And like, so if you want to do cast iron, go for it. But I find that a good stainless steel skillet has many of the benefits. You know, you can put them in the oven. They hold heat decently well. You can form fond in them, and fond is great. Which we'll talk more about fond in a little bit.
Stainless skillets are wonderful.
Yeah, stainless is good. We have like I think a 10-inch.
It's either a 10-inch or a 12-inch.
Yeah.
Target made by design stainless.
It's like $20. It's great. Like, it's really good. I like it, especially for $20.
For $20, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like Cuisinart, if you have the money for Cuisinart, yeah, that's great. But like a made by design, it will get the job done perfectly fine.
Yeah, good handle. Just make sure put it in the oven. That's always nice that it's oven safe, so that way you can like do more with it.
Yeah.
Because I think there's this big trap where people get like unitaskers in like kitchen, like the kitchen, like, oh, I want an avocado tool so I can make avocado toast and shove a mason jar up my ass.
I hate unit tools so much.
Like, okay, there was one that I will advocate. The fucking pineapple corer. That thing is so good. They're so nice.
I've never seen them.
It's like, okay, so it's like a little tube, right?
It's kind of like an apple cutter.
No, it's not like an apple cutter. It's very different. So it's like a spiral disc blade that you like twist into the pineapple and pull out all the flesh all at once, leaving the skin behind. That's the one unitasker I will advocate because they're cheap and they're very effective. That is the one unitasking item I will advocate. Pineapple corers are sick.
See, that's the thing with unitaskers is that usually they're cheap, but also very ineffective, and also only good for one thing.
Yes, hence the name unitasker. Like avocado tools are stupid. Use a knife. Learn how to use a knife.
Yeah, just use a knife.
Yeah, just use a knife. It's fine. Just cut the avocado, take out the seed, and shove it up your ass. Just whatever.
Cut it in half, pull it out, invert it, and then just like slice little bits into it.
Invert the spoon.
Warm it up. Cover all 9,000 taste buds. Oh yeah, drive it up. Cover all 9,000 taste buds.
That top note.
That sweetness.
Cream.
Pure vanilla.
That's a 10. Real individuals will know that.
Yes.
I can't really think of a description for people that of that caliber that would be apt.
You're just a real individual. That's
absolute individual. So next we're gonna be some utensils. I think tongs are really nice. Like I think tongs are surprisingly useful. Like you don't think they would be, but in many cases it's just like an extension of your hand. Yeah, and like for some foods it just makes things easier because it's a more familiar action.
Yeah.
So I think having a good set of tongs is nice. Like I think we have two. We have like a small one and a big one. And so it's like, for example, like you want to turn something. Yeah, I can put a spatula under it and flip it. But like tongs make that easier and more intuitive, at least for me.
But also, like, it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, because you're not going to, like, tong an egg and cook it over.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. But I think for things like meats, like cuts of meat.
Yeah, it's just like whatever tool's the best for the job.
Yeah.
And on that line, there's next the spatula, and I'm a spatula kind of guy, you know. Like, I enjoy having a good spatula. We started here with, I think, 2 or 3.
I think 4.
No, we didn't start with 4.
Okay, no, because I brought 2 silicone spatulas.
No, well, I'm not counting those.
Okay,
silicone spatulas kind of are like a different thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like turners. We had 3 of them that are all terrible for one reason or another.
Bad.
The one that I brought originally is so bendy. Like it probably couldn't hold a whole pound without completely bending backwards. One of them, the handle's falling off of it, and the other one is just, I think, really bendy as well. Yeah. So I had to just go buy another OXO quality
OXO Daddy
spatula turner to just fix this problem. But a good spatula will get you a long way. It's just going to make your life so much easier.
Yes. And also it's like good for other stuff. Like besides just turning, like you can deglaze with spatulas, like if you have a plastic one.
Yeah,
also I think having a silicone spatula is really nice. It's good for like sauces, things where you need to move
and stirring and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I use wooden slotted spoons.
Yes, those are also very nice.
Those are really good.
Those are also good for deglazing, which we'll talk about in a bit. Also, I feel like these are a little bit more auxiliary, but like a saucepan and a pot, they're both very useful, like both essentials. But I feel like they're not as essential as like the skillets and the good knife. It's like if like we're gonna put this, we'll probably throw this list in the show notes. But like if you're going to cut something from the list, I feel like a saucepan is like that's the one you can probably get by without.
I feel like the Dutch oven pot thing is really the one you can get away without, because I feel like a saucepan is, I mean, like sauce is kind of at least pasta sauce or whatever else you're going to be putting in that in a college dorm. That's kind of an essential item because people eat lots of pasta.
My thing is that like I feel like the pot can serve the function of the saucepan.
Is in like the Dutch oven, because wouldn't you have your pasta in that?
I mean, you just take the pasta and like move to a separate bowl, then put the sauce, and then put the pasta back in with the sauce.
I guess, but I mean, like, how expensive is it?
Like I said, if you're really on a budget, I would personally cut the saucepan. Like, if you're really on a budget. But it's still useful. Like, I'm not saying it's still a great thing to have.
I would say that it's kind of an essential, but life would be a lot harder without one.
Yeah, no, of course, it would be a lot harder. I feel like if it's between, like, a knife and a cutting board or the saucepan, the knife and the cutting board is leagues ahead. I think.
Skillet ahead, too.
Yeah. And also, you can even do, like, sauces in skillets, too. It's just, like, not as... You have to be a little more gentle with your stirring.
Yeah. But still, though, like...
Yeah, get a saucepan.
Yeah, also, like, soup.
Yeah, soup. That's true, soup. But just, like, microwave it, bro.
No. It's just sad.
Just microwave some water and vegetables.
Nah. I think that... Well, I mean, I think we've already talked about the pot, but... Other than that, that's really all the essential gear that you should need to...
I guess maybe a colander or some strainers.
Yeah, strainers and colander. Those are always good for just draining pasta, broccoli, whatever else you might be boiling.
Things.
Yeah. And I think aside from that, that's really all the essentials for
gear-wise,
yeah.
Yeah, so just recap: chef's knife, cutting board, non-stick and stainless skillets, tongs, spatula, saucepan, pot, and then maybe some draining items. And then after that, it's like, if you want to get more stuff, look at what you're going to be making. Like, if you have an oven, maybe get some baking stuff, like a baking sheet or like a baking sheet, things like that.
Big Pyrex pan or some baking sheets.
Or it's like, if you think you're going to be making, I don't know, a lot of fish, get a filleting knife to fillet the fish.
Yeah.
Although you can do it with a chef's knife. Like, after this, also, I think, one easy upgrade is a paring knife. I think that's really good for vegetables.
Yeah, paring knives are really good for vegetables.
They're not like absolutely essential,
but they're good for skinning.
Yes, they're good. Maybe a vegetable peeler too. Nice to have one of those if make things easier.
I mean, a paring knife can get that job done just as well.
But what if you're trying to get just the rind for zesting because you're fancy and trying to get some zest?
Then you don't belong in this segment.
Actually, speaking of zest, another quick extension could be like a grater of some kind, either a box grater or a microplane.
Not essential,
but it's a nice extension.
Sure,
it's not essential.
That's later down the line.
Yeah, that's down the line, but it's a nice extension. Plus, if you really want to save money on cheese, if you eat a lot of cheese.
If you eat a lot of cheese, maybe
you buy
worth it,
big blocks and a box.
But then you still have to do it. Like it's all about convenience.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Like, no, I like sliced and shredded cheese much than the next guy. Although I will say you can taste significantly taste the difference between boxed and fresh grated Parmesan. But it's not that big a deal. But the fresh stuff is really nice. If you can get it, it's so good.
But
it's so good.
That does not belong in the essentials.
Yeah, I know, but date night though, you're having your girl or boy over. I don't discriminate, or dog.
No, I do discriminate against that. No, don't let animals be. But moving on.
Yeah,
let's get into some recipes.
Okay, so these are a few, I guess, easy recipes that we've done or we've seen. And we might have to come back to this with more as we develop them. Maybe throw them into discussion every now and then.
We haven't developed a whole ton of recipes, but
I also have some up in my head that I just haven't done yet.
Yeah.
That I haven't written down either. I think, first off, this is a meal that I've made quite a lot, and I think it's very satisfying for what it is, and for how, at least for me, easy it is. What it is, it's a seared meat with a pan sauce. You can do chicken, you can do pork. You can't do this with beef because beef has to sear at a higher temperature, and you need fond, which is for those who don't know, fond is basically the meat essence you get in the bottom of the pan. I think I've talked about this before on the show, but it's the fat and the juices from the bottom of the pan just kind of sitting down there after you've cooked something. Mm-hmm. And with steak, you have to sear it so the fond gets annihilated. In most cases, to cook steak properly, you have to cook it at a pretty high heat. And that eats the fond. So this is what you do is you sear the meat, you take it off, pour in a flavorful liquid, scrape them up to the pan, throw in some shallots or some garlic or whatever. We'll link a video made by Adam Ragusea, who is a YouTuber I've mentioned many times before, makes good content. I've based it off of I've had many dinners based off his videos. I think it's just a good solid recipe, relatively quick, filling. Yeah. Next up is the eponymous spaghetti.
Spaghetti is useful for so many things.
Yes, although I think I used eponymous wrong.
I don't know myself, but going to a wholesale store and picking up, just as much spaghetti as you think you can use is it's just good, because you will eat lots of spaghetti if you're new to cooking, because it's just so easy.
Yeah, and like think there's also different ways to do it. Like you can also just of course like do the traditional way, get some sauce, get some ragu, put that in a pan, put your spaghetti in.
Also, you can significantly make your sauce better by putting some chili pea in there.
Some chili flakes, or flakes or powder. I like flakes personally, because I think the powder is good, but like I like to put flakes at the end.
But like it keeps the sauce like sauce.
Yeah, it
Whereas
does.
Like if you have flakes, then you're gonna find flakes in your sauce, which if that's your thing. But
that's
also
my
like
thing.
if you're just making a sauce, I feel like you don't need that. And also you can add other things to your sauce, like maybe some ground beef or some sausage, or some spice it up with some oregano or something, and then
I think oregano is always really nice to put.
Yeah, definitely for Italian dishes. Pour that over some spaghetti, top it with Parmesan cheese, and you got a wonderful spaghetti dinner.
Or if you want to be fancy, what you do is you put the pasta in the pan with the sauce and toss it, and it's like fancy. I like it that way personally. It's like it's homogenized.
But like I like to have some non-salty spaghetti on the side myself. Yeah, I don't want all my spaghetti to be covered in sauce. I
don't like the taste of just plain noodles.
I love noodles.
I know about that. But also I think another thing you can do is like for me personally, like I don't mind using pre like some people hate like, oh, you're using a pre-made sauce, you're a piece of shit. Like no, that's dumb. But that being said, there are times where I feel like I want to make more of the dish. Like I want to have a hand in it, and when I want to do that, I make a dish called spaghetti aglio olio, which is for Italian for spaghetti with garlic. And it's actually a pretty simple recipe. It's a little bit time consuming, but I like it. I like how it turns out. I like how it's a little bit lighter than spaghetti with like a tomato sauce. So what it is, it's pretty simple. It's what you do is you slice up a lot of garlic, like 9 cloves, thinly. You make your spaghetti. Then you get a pan, and you fill it with olive oil. Not too much. Just a touch. So put some olive oil in it. Not too much. Just like get like a good sized layer. And then you heat that up, and then you toast the garlic in the olive oil for like 45 seconds. Right. Then you throw your spaghetti in the pan with a little bit of soaking water and toss it in the olive oil garlic infusion. And I like it. I think I like how light it is compared to like spaghetti with pasta sauce.
Yeah, it is a very good dish. It's also, you say you don't like just like the taste of plain noodles, but I mean I feel like you get enough of that because the it's not a very strong dish.
Yeah, but there's still something there besides the plain noodle.
Sure, but I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I like it, and also I like how like when you put a little soaking water so it gets nice and smooth and silky. I like it. It's good. You should try it. Another thing you can try is I haven't actually made this before, but Cacio e Pepe, which is basically like the base pasta that all Italian pasta dishes are based off of. Like everything is just a variation on Cacio e Pepe. And we'll link a video on how to make it because like I don't know off the top of my head, but like if you know how to make Cacio e Pepe, you can make any other pasta dish from scratch. If you want, you can make Alfredo, carbonara. What's another pasta dish besides Alfredo? Bolognese.
I don't know. Pasta dishes. So this is
mafioso, Siciliano, Napoleano, Antonio, Tony Soprano. A lot of pasta dishes.
Quick correction. Bolognese is not based off Cacio e Pepe.
Yes, all of those pasta dishes.
Tony Soprano is a good pasta dish. Yeah, so that's always an option. Like, it's quick, it's easy, satisfying, carbs, makes you full. Not the healthiest, like, spaghetti isn't great for you, but it's easy.
But it's an easy way to get some calories.
Yeah, and it's better than, like, junk food, like McDonald's or something.
Yeah, definitely. Not for keto.
Not definitely. I mean, there's keto noodles out there. Not good,
but like
but they exist.
Not regular spaghetti. That's
not regular spaghetti.
Like a lot of carbs.
Yeah, a lot of carbs. And also another, I think knowing how to steam vegetables is another good skill. Like I personally really like broccoli.
Yeah, it's really easy, and some fresh steamed broccoli. There's just not quite nothing that's quite tops that as far as ease and just goodness. Like
yes,
it's really good.
See, I personally like I steam my broccoli a lot less longer than most people. I found, like I like my broccoli crunchy when I steam it.
Steaming broccoli is rather easy. You can get all sorts of different
like a steaming basket.
Yeah, steaming baskets, like the things you sit on top of your pan, or maybe even submerge into your pan. But you don't need that. The bare minimum you need is like a saucepan, and
or if you can even do it in a skillet. I've done it in a skillet before.
You could do it in a skillet, but you'd get more of the surface area touching the water, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But like
I've done it, but it's doable.
It's doable in a skillet, sure. But like the ideal easy setup for beginners is just a saucepan, which you probably have a saucepan,
or
like,
just
who doesn't have a saucepan, and you just put a little bit of water in the bottom, put some brock in there that you would ideally cut up and wash off before.
Yeah, and maybe also make sure they're all relative, like a similar size.
Yeah, similar size, sure. And then you just throw it in there, boil it, and then once you get it boiled, you throw it in there. My bad.
Yeah.
And then cook it for 5 minutes or so, or just really however long you want it to taste. 2.5 is not enough for my taste. I feel like he likes it a little crunchier than most people, but I feel like 5 minutes is going to get you a good average consistency where it's just easy enough to put the fork through it, and it's not gonna be raw at all. And then you pull it out, strain it, and then you put it back in the pan and maybe shake it around with some butter, pepper, salt,
olive oil too. Sometimes is really good.
Yeah, that could
just
work.
a touch. I haven't done with olive oil in a while. Actually, I might do that next time I do broccoli. Maybe I'll do that for lunch.
It's just a good, easy, healthy side.
And if you're like me, I there was a point in time where for dinner I would just have a whole head of broccoli, and then a side. Like the broccoli was not the side, but it's good. Broccoli's easy. And then lastly is an Alavi classic. It's a very college style meal, and it is the leftover burrito. This is quite simple. What you do is you have your leftovers, you put them in a pan, you heat them up, you put them in a tortilla, and you wrap it up. It's simple, but surprisingly good, and a good way to get rid of leftovers. Like, just put anything, you put it in a burrito. Like, the other day, I went to Chipotle, had some leftovers, so I threw that in a pan with some, like, Beyond Meat sausage, because we had some. Cooked that up, put that in a burrito. I had it perfectly wrapped. It was beautiful. Then I got ambitious and tried to toast it in the pan. And then it ripped and got everywhere, and I was sad. But when I put it in, it was perfect.
Yeah, so just like don't do that.
Yeah, but actually, leftover burrito, it's a good way to absorb leftovers, which can sometimes be a challenge if you don't want to throw out food.
Yeah,
because like throwing out food's kind of bad.
Yeah,
I know about that.
Just like eat all your food.
Yeah,
God.
Or like eat broccoli stumps like apples.
Yeah, that happened last night.
Yep, it was pretty good. It was quite sweet. It was pretty sweet.
All right.
Because like in plants, right, the stem is where they store a lot of the like sugars.
Yeah, but also it's like woody.
That's fine. I got molars.
Alrighty.
I can grind them bitches up. Grind them.
Good for you, my guy. Glad you have molars.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. Boogie 298 does. Has a whole new set of teeth. He wants you to know that because he got new teeth.
He doesn't have real molars though.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I think before we had like 15 teeth, and now he has 36. We'll put a link.
Like 36 teeth is a lot.
Is that the standard amount?
No.
Because whatever the standard amount is. But we'll throw a link in the show notes to an episode of the H3 podcast where he talks about his teeth. Because
maybe it is. I don't know.
I think 36 is the standard amount. Alex is looking it up.
32.
32. Okay, yeah. So he has 32 teeth, not 36. I mean, does that include wisdom teeth?
No, I don't think so. But also, wisdom teeth aren't considered, or most people get those removed.
Yeah, I had mine removed. I still have sockets. Like, they haven't filled yet.
It takes them forever to fill. I mean, it's a pretty deep socket.
Yeah, my top ones are almost full, but my bottom ones have not.
I still have
filled.
Indentations, but not like sockets. Like stuff can't get stuck in them anymore, but they're still there.
For mine, stuff isn't getting stuck as much, but like the sockets are still there.
Mm-hmm.
I had mine removed over the summer. I was very high. That's a good time.
General anesthesia.
Yep. But no, it was also like more high than I usually get off general anesthesia. I've been under a few times. Now that we've talked about food a bit, I think it might be time we kick back and relax by taking a huff of an unidentified liquid from a paint can of chat in the dingy back alley with the hoodlum of debate on Discussion Avenue.
Yeet.
You ever huff paint, Alex?
I have never huffed paint, and I don't intend on trying.
It's not great for you. It's not great for you. But that being said, how's your week been?
My week has been just fine. Let's see. When was the last time we recorded? That was before I left? Or was
No,
it
no,
while
it was
I
after you left.
It was,
It was
oh,
Friday.
yes, because I had my microphone suspended from my TV, which is always always good. Always a good thing to have your microphone hanging from your TV, because if it's not, like, what are you doing?
What you doing?
But anyway, I actually, while I was back there, I just kind of got some homework done, got some things out of the way. I brought some things back here, which I'll get into later. But the last night there, it was Sunday night. What I usually do is eat dinner with my family and then drive up here and then maybe arrive at school at maybe 9 to 10 p.m. and then just kind of spend the rest of my evening here, relax a little bit.
And what else were you gonna do? Just kind of like spend your evening like somewhere else?
As in I'm relaxing and not doing something in particular, you know.
Fair.
Like I just spend my last hour.
You could also like
chilling,
relax on the
last
side of
hour
the road.
because like I spend most of my Sundays at home, and then like I come up here after dinner. But anyway,
Just like
dinner
on the side of the
my
road.
guy. Dinner consisted of me actually cooking some chicken with pan sauce for the first time. My family thoroughly enjoyed it, and I feel like I nailed it for my first time. Really, the only improvement I could foresee there is maybe not cooking the fond for quite as long because it was starting to burn, but it still came off pretty easy and it still mixed with the sauce. And maybe using a little less milk in my sauce, but they're all things you learn with experience.
Yeah, it's practice.
So after I got up here, I brought with me my new items, which include some water from home because my water from home is just the nectar of the gods. You know, have a 2.5 gallon container of it here now. Never should run out as long as I go home at regular intervals. Brought with me a pretty nice blender so now I can make milkshakes.
Yep.
Whatever else you would need a blender for. Alavi plans on using it for hot sauce here in the near future. And also a coffee grinder, so now we can keep some beans for longer and we can grind our own beans, you know. And
to make some brew.
Some slapping bean brew.
Yeah.
Some bean juice, bean water.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And other than that, I've just been doing my usual course load, you know. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. Haven't been swapping tables up in Bergen Rows. So that's been a plus. I actually have gotten to know a few people at my table, so my classes are kind of settling in. You can tell that we're right in the middle of the semester.
So we are hitting mid-semester.
I've already had one of my midterms announced. Yes. After next week, we will be a third of the way in.
Wow.
Balls deep.
We'll be in the second third.
Sure. I know exactly what you're referencing to, and I don't know if I appreciate that. But yeah. Other than that, dealing with plenty of fire alarms here in our oh so horrible building.
Sleepdrunk.net/alarm counter.
Some spoon malfunctions. Life has been fine.
Yep. Sleepdrunk.net/alarm counter.
Yes, check it out.
Yep. So for me, it's also been pretty straightforward week. I've just been going through the motions. The course that I am assisting in as a course assistant is they're having their first test October 2nd. We're recording this weekend of the 20th of September. So it's in 2 weeks. And so they will. So next weekend, I've been doing kind of prep for a big review session I'm going to do with all the students. I'll sit down and I'll go over all the course material, make sure everyone knows everything. Then, not a ton of like huge. I've been watching a lot of Kitchen Nightmares on YouTube, because for some reason there's just full seasons of Kitchen Nightmares just on YouTube that you can enjoy. You can watch Gordon Ramsay yell at poor sods for being stupid. However, I have a plea for all of the sleep drunkians out there. There's an episode of Kitchen Nightmares. It's in season 3. I think it's the 14th episode. It's called Oceana. If any of you know where I can watch it, please let me know it. Like, it's been scrubbed from the internet. I swear. I've seen it once. I have seen it before.
Yes, we spent a considerable amount of time searching for it last night in all of the places that you would expect. Yeah, YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime. Some places with a little bit more questionable legality. Yeah. But like, I think it's just been scrubbed from the internet. If I find like a multi-part version on YouTube that's mirrored with like text on the bottom or whatever, fine. But someone please send me that. I want to watch that episode. It's really funny. Or if any of you freaks just happen to have it on like DVD, you should totally just like contact us. Yeah. Well, we'll buy the DVD from you. You can wait. We could buy a DVD of it off Amazon. Yeah, but you don't know if it's going to be old enough to have it. That's just ways to tell. You can tell, like, because they probably told them to stop selling the ones with it. If they scrubbed it from the internet, they have the capability to do that. Okay, if you have a secondhand, maybe go on Craigslist. Find a Craigslist Kitchen Nightmares DVD. The chances of you finding that on there are slim to none. But this is not the time. Alavi, don't. This is not the time.
That's about to take a fat shot at going on Craigslist. But if any of you know how to find it, please send it. One of my favorite quotes from there is, "He's from British, he don't speak no English." Which is beautiful. So seriously, if you can find it, please send it. It's a fantastic episode, one of my favorites. We also watched an episode called Amy's Bakery, or Amy's Baking Company, which was...
Yeah, that was...
It's the one place Gordon just kind of, like, left.
Yeah, I mean, they were just absolutely unable to help themselves, unwilling to realize that there was anything wrong.
And also, it was a loveless marriage.
There was a very loveless marriage, and also, like, the way the restaurant was run just didn't make sense. Like, as a person that has worked in a restaurant, the restaurant will not function if you don't let the servers take some sort of responsibility, like running the point of sale. Or,
and also, like, give them tips.
Yeah, giving them their tips. Like, no server works and for some place that doesn't get tips for, like more than a month.
I think in a lot of states, it's illegal to not give them their tips.
Yeah.
I guess just Arizona isn't one of those states. But, like, I know, isn't it up here? Is it illegal?
I don't know, because it's just like,
it's just
who would do that anyway? Right.
Like, you give your server their tips.
Yeah.
And the best part was, like, Gordon's like, hey, you know that, like, the servers aren't getting these tips, right? And then everyone just kind of stopped tipping. Because, like, they realized the owner was getting them.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, no, we don't want that.
Well, I do all the work. Oh. Sure you do, bud. Sit there and punch around on your POS and not do what you're doing.
That he barely knows how to use.
Yeah.
Like, I think she had to go and show him how to use the POS for something. And he won't let her use it because he thinks she doesn't know how to use it. But she knows better than he does.
And then they asked, like, on the show they're like, what % of your other jobs did you use the POS? 100%.
Yep.
Do you know how to use one? Yes.
And he's going.
What % of your other jobs did you get your tips? 100%.
Do you get them?
No.
So yeah, that's also a good episode, but it's on YouTube. I'm not sure if we can link to it.
I mean, we can link to, like, the Hulu page.
We'll link to the Hulu page,
or just put the season and episode number.
Well, yeah, we'll
it's
link
the last one in season 5, and then they revisit it in the first episode of season 6.
And we'll link to a page about Oceana, because, like, there's an IMDB page for it, there's a Wikipedia page for it, but we can't find it anywhere on the internet. Because I think there's a lawsuit running against, like, Gordon from the owners of Oceana, which is interesting because, like, it's one of the few restaurants he's visited that actually succeeded. Because here's the thing, right? I feel like in most cases with kitchen nightmares, it's like, if you're calling in Gordon Ramsay to help fix your restaurant, there's deeper systematic problems in your restaurant.
Yeah, like management is just completely incompetent or something like that.
If you had competent management, you wouldn't need his help in most cases, which I think is reflected in, like, when, like, there's whole sites that just kind of track restaurants that were on Kitchen Nightmares and see how they've done. So many of them have closed. Like, I think most of them have closed, which is kind of a shame, because, like,
but, like, it does make sense.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Like, if a restaurant can get to that point, it needs new management, it needs new people at the helm, and in most cases that goes back to the owners, and you can't just replace owners. It's like, you can replace a general manager, you can replace a cook, you can replace servers, but if the owner is incompetent, then the restaurant isn't going to succeed. And that's just how it is. Also, another really good episode of Kitchen Nightmares is Season 1, Episode 2. It's a place called Dylan's.
Yeah. Yeah, that hurt a little bit to watch.
That one's also good. So yeah, a bunch of them are on YouTube, Hulu, all over. So yeah, Kitchen Nightmares is good. But other than that, Policeman straightforward. Brief note, which I'm going to talk about this more in a future segment that is still in the process of being formed from an event perspective. But I've been trying out a synthetic saxophone reed, the Leger signature. It's been very good. We'll talk about more about that in a later segment, probably in a couple of weeks. I think in maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
So haven't you done one on jazz before, a segment, or just music? I guess it was.
That was just music.
So now we're diving a little bit further into that.
Yes,
and talking about jazz in particular, but it's going to be him because I don't know anything about music.
Okay,
or jazz.
so I have a goal for this, right? So jazz. So for those of you who don't know, maybe you're new to the show. I play jazz music. I'm a saxophonist. I love jazz as an art form, and I think it is arguably America's greatest musical art form, arguably. And I think more people need to listen to it, but in large part because of the elitism of the jazz community, it's a very difficult genre to get into, which I think is a massive shame because there's so much wonderful, wonderful music in the genre. And so the goal of this segment is to provide an easy introduction for new people who don't listen to jazz to try and get into the genre, because I think there's a lot of reasons why. And so we're going to start with actually the reasons why you should listen to jazz, in my opinion. This is all from my experience and what I like. This isn't an end-all be-all. But first off, jazz music, I just think it's good. That's very subjective, but I like it. I think it sounds nice, and I think that's generally agreed. And also, in many cases, it is one of the progenitor forms, or a form of jazz was like one of the early forms for many genres of American music, right? R&B, hip-hop, rock and roll, which led down like all the rock genres after rock and roll, right? A lot of that stuff came from jazz. And so, with that in mind, jazz is also a very diverse genre. Like, depending on the kind of music you like, there is jazz, there's a subgenre of jazz for basically everyone, I think, for a lot of people. There's vocal jazz, non-vocal jazz, avant-garde jazz, Japanese punk jazz, which is a thing, which we'll talk more about later.
Alrighty.
And it's just diverse, and also, if you're a musician, it can make you a better musician in terms of just like understanding things, harmonies, stuff like that, music nerd stuff, which we're not going to talk about because this is not for that. And also, jazz is misunderstood by the uneducated and general populace that listen to mad music. But there is one thing I will say about jazz being misunderstood. There's one thing I will say that genuinely makes me really mad. For some reason, there's this belief that jazz music is just kind of like a jumble of random notes and like incoherent nonsense. Some jazz is like that. I'm not gonna deny that. But like, most of the time it isn't. Like, just isn't. Like, CGP Grey a while ago did a video. It was a Q&A, and someone was like, "You like jazz?" And then he was like, "No, I like music with patterns and repetition." Like, jazz is just patterns and repetition, but like they're just complicated patterns that you can enjoy and analyze and think about. So yeah, jazz isn't just random notes. There's a lot of structure, and it's arguably more complicated than classical music from a structural perspective. Arguably, depending on the genre. So, next, I think I'm going to just go over a few types of jazz and a few like eras. I'm probably going to more eras, just quick history. This is going to be pretty quick. I'm just going to say era, example artist, move on. Jazz kind of started in the 20s. Alex is like grabbing something off my saxophone case.
It was bothering me because it wasn't aligned right.
Like, why gotta go off my luggage tag like that, Alex?
I'm putting it back. I just gotta fix it.
It's cold. But speaking of saxophones,
you lizard.
Damn, that's cold. So I think jazz restarted in like the 20s. You could argue in New Orleans. I think the official birth date of jazz is in like 1925 or something. But there were like early forms and stuff. But there's like ragtime, 1920s, Scott Joplin. I'm not a huge fan of this era. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm not a huge fan of ragtime personally. I think part of it is that like there aren't very many high fidelity recordings, which is just a product of the time because like microphones were kind of like hip and new then. Because like, who needs an iPhone when you have a microphone? And by microphone, I mean a giant metal cone that you like stick in someone's face that like vibrates a wax cylinder, which I think was the earliest microphone. No, Thomas Edison, right? He invented.
I honestly don't know.
He invented the phonograph. What was I talking about? Ragtime, right? So I'm not a huge fan of that. 30s was kind of like an F's in the chat for everyone for like the world, just like generally.
Yeah, 30s are pretty bad.
Pretty depressing.
Yeah, Great Depression.
Yeah, pretty great. But that was also where Dixieland music started, and I think here's the thing, right? There's a lot of overlap in genres between artists. Like, one of the key Dixieland artists is like Louis Armstrong, right? But Louis Armstrong is just kind of like a key artist in general. He's like really famous, and like,
yeah. To be honest, if you haven't heard of Louis Armstrong, like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? That's
really
of the few things that are somehow a point of the American education system. He is one of them.
Yes.
So if you missed out on that, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. So like, for example, like, yeah, sure, he's technically a Dixieland artist, but he's kind of ranged over everything. Like, he died like like in the past like 20 or 30 years, I think. Let me look this up, because there's color photos of him, or like color video of him. He died in 71. Okay, so
in the last 40 years. But so yeah, he's essential. Next up is bebop in the 40s. One of the, I think, prime examples is Charlie Parker, who is arguably one of, if not the greatest saxophone player of all time, like in history ever. Arguably, some people say it's like Coltrane, or some people say Ornette Coleman, which
But like, what about Leo P? Just kind of like moving.
But like, I like Leo P.
Quality.
I actually like him. He's funny. He's a fun guy. Leo P's fun. He's a guy.
He's a guy.
But it's just like, so Leo P, for those of you who don't know, I say those of you who don't know a lot. For those of you who don't know, Leo P is like a baritone saxophone player that is known for his very eccentric way of dressing and how he like will kind of flail his body around while playing.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of that, because most people in music have an eccentric dress form. At least maybe not back then, but in the current day, it's kind of hard to find one that doesn't. So,
but like, okay, in instrumental music though, maybe less so.
Sure,
not as eccentric as Leo.
But also, like, nobody does that. Like, what is he doing? Like,
he's like kicking his arms around. He's doing pirouettes with a baritone sax. Like, calm down, Leo. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to do that, but yeah, that's Leo P. You can check him out. So yeah, 1940s bebop era, Charlie Parker, super famous, really important. He died young. He was, I think, like to say the XXX Tentacion of his day. He burned bright and died young. Long live Ja.
No comment.
I saw the life drain from Alex's eyes.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna attack me for saying that Charlie Parker's the XXX Tentacion of his day.
Yeah. Someone.
So next up in the 50s is kind of was known in the big band era. This is when you got like a lot of people sitting together, like 5 saxophone players, an amount of trombone players.
I can imagine that being like a Bill Wirtz line. Like, it's the 50s. Let's get a lot of people and sit together.
That is a very Bill Wirtz line. You should do a history of jazz video.
Oh my god,
that'd be sick. But that's big band era. I put John Coltrane just because like this was kind of one of his big periods, but he played more small bands, I think, and also the Mingus big band, San Quentin Orchestra. That's like, I feel like a bigger sound with like that use the technique. I think it's solely, but like really, people think more like layers of sound, like where like you have a bunch of instruments playing the same rhythm but with related notes, and so it's like instead of being a melody based off one note, it's a chordal melody. And it sounds like this fat layer of sound hitting you. And it sounds really cool.
That's a thick layer.
And it's also so much fun to play in a soli. But also really hard to practice for if you're by yourself, because you can't hear how what you're playing fits into the harmony. But yeah, that's that era. 60s is actually one of my favorite eras of jazz. And this was also when Rolling Stones published an article saying, jazz has died in the 60s.
Oof.
60s. But this was the era of, I think, cool jazz, which was pioneered by, I think, probably my favorite sax player right now, Stan Getz, who was known for doing bossa novas with the recently, and I mean really recently passed João Gilberto, who, like, I was making fun of the way he recorded, and I found out that was literally, like, I think 2 weeks after he died. Like, it's kind of messed up.
F's in chat to that guy.
But, like, he's also considered one of the pioneers of bossa nova as a genre, which is, like, Brazilian jazz music. Lovely. But he gets so close to the mic, like you can hear his mouth sounds, like the little sounds you get from like the tongue separating from the sides of your mouth, little like pops and clicks. It's gross. I don't like it.
Yeah,
he's too close to the mic. But rest in peace, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that, but it's like because it's Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese.
I don't either, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, maybe we should get like a Portuguese guy on here.
I don't know any.
Damn.
Or a Brazilian guy, but like still, guy. I don't know any.
Probably Brazilian actually, because I think Brazilian Portuguese is a bit different than Portugal Portuguese.
Probably.
Yeah, and then I think kind of the 70s onwards really is like what people call the contemporary like fusion era, where like jazz fusion is the thing, and jazz is basically a zombie now. Not a lot of people listen to it, but I think one of my all-time favorite artists, and I think everyone should listen to, is if you're a fan of King of the Hill, you know him, Chuck Mangione. He's currently best known for his role on King of the Hill, for better or worse, but like he made like a top charting hit with a flugelhorn. Like his song Feels So Good was like on top of the charts nationally, playing on the radio with flugelhorn. Like no one plays the flugelhorn unless you're like
Chuck Mangione.
Yeah, or like a Swiss mailman.
What do you mean by his relation to King of the Hill?
He voice acts on King of the Hills himself.
Huh.
It's a whole thing.
All right.
It's like he is like regularly on King of the Hill. It's like a recurring meme. They'll be like, "Hey, what are you doing here, Chuck Mangione?" Like I'm not even like he's been on the show multiple times.
We need to pull up a clip.
Like on the King of the Hill wiki.
Find a clip.
All right.
I can't say I've ever even seen this character before.
Well, he plays himself. All right, we'll link this clip, but like we'll just cut it out for a second. Like, so we'll link the two clips we just watched in the show notes. But like, yeah, known for being on fucking King of the Hill.
That's kind of an oof. All things
Bit of an
considered.
oof. But he's still alive. Like, you can't say that about most jazz artists.
No,
he's still alive.
Can't say that.
Sonny Rollins is also still alive, but he can't play anymore because like lung disease.
That'll do it.
Yep, saxophonist. Real shame. But so that's kind of like the different eras, but a bit of Chuck Mangione in there. And speaking of Chuck Mangione, I think I'm gonna put a few starting artists, and I'm gonna preface this with another pretty controversial opinion. But I don't think John Coltrane is a very good artist to start on for jazz. Like, a lot of his music is a bit like high concept, and if you haven't already developed a bit of an ear for jazz music, it just kind of sounds like nonsense.
Turn you off.
Yeah. Like, I love John Coltrane. He's one of my idols, but I just don't think he's the best person to start on. That being said, I think a really great artist to start on is Chuck Mangione, because it just feels so good to listen to him.
Feels like it's a pretty good song.
It is.
I would say that it is.
And like, you know, reminds me of like maybe driving through Toriano, looking at a Bella Via. Fun and games.
What do you want now?
Just like what, like generally?
Yeah, just like what is this?
Those are different songs he's made. Like Toriano is a song, Bella Via is a song in an album.
All right.
Fun and Games is
Glad
an
you
album.
cleared that up.
Next up, I'm just gonna mention one song by the Mingus Big Band, which I really love, called "Moanin'." Not the one by Art Blakely, but by Charles Mingus. It's fantastic. It's just good. It has a really nice fat Barry sax line, like a fat Barry sax line. Like let me pull up this fat sax. It starts right in the beginning.
All right, that's pretty fat.
It's so fat.
That's pretty fat.
It's so fat. It's fantastic. I like that song. It's really good. Next up, there is Stan Getz, who I mentioned earlier. I think he's also relatively approachable, especially his bosses from like later on in his career. They're all quite good. It's Latin. If you like Latin, I think Latin's a really nice genre. It's just good. Listen to Stan Getz. Cool jazz. He's a cool cat. There's actually a funny story about him where he was playing a gig with a band in like a theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part of the theater where there's a bear. There's a stack with a bear, right?
Yeah.
And one of the dudes was real hard, right? Real straight lace, no drugs, no alcohol, clean, straight lace guy, right? Everyone else in the band was stoned out of their mind. They were all so high. And like the bear attacked them. Like the bear took a swipe at them. And they just kept going because they were so high. They didn't realize that the bear attacked them.
That's a little too high.
But like
that's
the one dude who freaked out and broke formation on the song was the guy that was sober. They just kept playing.
You heard it here, kids. Stay high.
Yep.
Otherwise, you'll freak out and ruin your show.
Yeah, because I mean, people just attacked by bears. It happens, right? Like we live in an era of bear attacks.
We live in a society.
Jazzers rise up. Next up, mentioned earlier, Sonny Rollins, really good. Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis. There's a lot of options. Go for it. Just go in there, get listening, find some good stuff. Yeah. I just want to do a quick note regarding like overlap in extended genres of jazz, which I know sounds incredibly interesting. But there's see the thing. So like jazz is like spread around the world, and because of that, different cultures have adopted some of their own customs and some of their own like musical art forms into jazz music. So like for example, bossa and Latin. That is like bossa nova is like a fusion of like jazz music and then contemporary Brazilian like Latin music, like samba and all that. I think I'm not 100% sure on that. And so like I mentioned earlier, Stan Getz, and like he had an album called Getz and Gilberto with one once again, late Ohio Gilberto, who got really close to the mic. Rest in peace, Big J. Big JG.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Next up is Afro Ethio Jazz, which is jazz music from like Ethiopia, which is close to home for me because I like in 5th grade and like throughout elementary school I listened to it quite a bit because I lived in Ethiopia and it would like play in places, and it's interesting. It's just interesting to listen to. And I recommend going into it. I think a good artist is Mulatu Asatka. I know I butchered that as well. My Amharic isn't on point. We'll put the name in the notes. Then there is Japanese jazz, which there's an interesting thing I found like with Japan in general, especially post World War II, is that they will take aspects of American culture, just kind of like
put their own little thing on it,
and sometimes just like do it better, like car manufacturing,
just manufacturing in general.
Yeah,
really.
Manufacturing in general. Classical music. Japan is one of like the homes of Western classical music.
Just kind of like look at all those Japanese companies that kind of rose after post World War II, like
Yamaha,
Mitsubishi is a big one.
Nagasawa.
Yeah, I mean that you could sit here all day and name companies that just rose up after then.
Yeah,
brought their economy pretty booming.
Yeah,
all things considered.
So I think a good example is Ryo Fukui, who is a recently passed actually jazz pianist from Japan, who didn't actually release a ton of music. He was more of like a live performer, but he's really good. It's fantastic. He has an album called Scenery, which is lovely, and it's really good. And actually, there's an interesting video talking about how like the Japanese language shaped music there, because of the way you speak Japanese. It changes the way musicians there think about notes and how they play notes. Like, it's very difficult to describe, but after a while you can start to hear how just it's different. And part of that is because like the Japanese language, I think is like called, I think it's monosyllabic. I think it's probably the wrong word. I'm not a linguist, but it's like they're like the way you speak in Japanese is a lot less flowy and like meshed together. It's more discreet. I think that's good. It's more discreet.
I really don't know what any of this means, but sure.
I'm not like mathematically, right? Like it's like closer to a discrete set than a continuous set in terms of how you speak. It's very difficult to describe, so we'll link a video in the notes to a video talking about it. And then, like I mentioned earlier, Japanese jazz punk is a thing. It is surprisingly really good. I don't know how, but it just sort of works. There's a band called Midori, which is Japanese for green. So yeah, that is really it's interesting, and I think part of it is that like that disconnected, discrete nature I mentioned earlier lends itself well to like punk music, because like yelling and like being mad.
I really
it's a really weird genre. It's really weird, but it sort of works. And then lastly, quick footnote here about European jazz. There's a lot. So we'll link to an article. I have a hyperlink saved on our show notes. Yeah, just there's a lot there. Not enough time to break it all down. I want to highlight the more exotic aspects of jazz. So,
yes, and I think that's a good point.
So, Alex, the real question is, will you try listening to more jazz?
Maybe.
All right, that's
I
better
don't
than
know
no.
what circumstance, but yeah,
that's better than
I'm
no.
not gonna give it a definite no, but I mean, like, you know.
But like, you like jazz?
It's pretty good.
But like, are you a woman that's about to fuck a bee?
No.
That movie's so weird.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
You know what, listeners? If you want to have us do a live watch of Bee Movie, live streamed on YouTube.
Actually, you know, let's up this a notch. If you want us to do a live script reading
of Bee Movie,
yes. Like we'll take certain characters, each of us, and then we'll do those.
Yeah, all right.
And we'll reenact it, and maybe somebody can like edit that to the actual Bee Movie.
Yes. So if you guys want that, you can tweet us at SleepdrunkPC.
Yeah, but you gotta tweet us first.
Yep. Yeah, tweet us.
You gotta make sure that we know.
Just up by Instagram, because like, you know, thanks for listening to this episode of Sleep Drunk Podcast. You know, that first person to get song of the day on any of our social media, such as Twitter or Instagram, or via email, we'll get a shout out in the next episode. Song of the day for the last episode was
I think it was Dollar by Electric Guest.
Yeah, I think you picked it that time. So Dollar by Electric Guest.
Pretty good song.
Yep, pretty
Electric
solid.
Guest makes a lot of pretty solid.
Did we talk
alt
about them
music.
before?
Yes.
And also, don't forget to try and share the show. It really, really helps us, really brings new listeners in. If you're new, let your friends know. Let some jazz musicians know. Let your local beehive know.
Yeah, definitely make sure to let your local beehive know. Anyone who might find it interesting, especially bees, because bees like jazz.
Yes.
But the Sleepdrunk podcast can, in fact, be found on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. So we'll catch you next week.
We'll catch you next week.